I say what? Ho, this is Brian. I can make you dance. I can make you sing, Gardner. Coming to you from the Devil's Hole, aka Ramble Towers Dungeon Studio in scenic, ever-chilly Hespeler, Ontario, Ice Station Zeppelin, as it's otherwise known. And you are listening to Ramble on Radio, episode 139. Ramble on Radio is the only Led Zeppelin podcast on this or any other known internets. Be sure to go to rambleonradio.com for all your Led Zeppelin news, reviews, and any links I might mention during the show. You can subscribe to Ramble on Radio through iTunes. And if you're in iTunes, if you go to iTunes, check out whatever reason. You're picking up Carry Fire, you're picking up the Steve Winwood Live Greatest Hits, which I was checking out this week. Stop over at Ramble on Radio and just leave a review. Let them know if you like it or don't like it. And 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, doesn't matter. The review is what matters. It helps other people find this podcast. It helps Apple's algorithms find this podcast. It's also available on Google Play. Same applies. Pop over to Google Play and leave a review. We're available on Podbean. And Podbean has a mobile app that you can listen to us on the car, on the go, and stream us. You can listen on Stitcher Radio, same thing. They have a mobile app that streams, and it's a radio station, and blah, blah, blah. Also, check us out on Ramble on Radio at YouTube. Follow Ramble on Radio on Facebook and Ramble on Blog on Twitter. And, 1 second. My general apologies to the Facebook people for last episode's fiasco. Got it up, got it working, got it done. It just was taking me forever. And the problem is, my computer's about 6 years old, and it just didn't want to save a file that big, a video file that big. I cut the video, I made it happen, and then getting to save it into something where I could use it outside of just the movies app wasn't working, and it just took forever to do. So it took me about 2 weeks, week and a half, 2 weeks from when I got the episode posted on Podbean to when I got a video up on Facebook. So I apologize to Facebook people for that. I'm getting better, I'm learning, and I'm getting better on this. And it didn't take that long to make the video happen. It took a long time to make the saving of the video happen, which was a bit ridiculous, really, when you think about it. All right, the intro was In the Mood from Raleigh, North Carolina, 9th of February, the first show of Robert Plant's recent U.S. tour. It's 6 down, 6 to go, actually, for Robert Plant and the Sensational Space Shifters in America, North America. Last night was local to me, Toronto, and no, I wasn't there. If you're on Twitter, you know why. Was I going to mention this? I was going to talk about this somewhat. Yeah, if you're on Twitter, you know why I wasn't there. Because I whined a bit on Twitter, bitched, passive-aggressive a little bit on Twitter. Basically, I first off, I couldn't get tickets the day of. One of those things where tickets were just gone so fast. And the only thing, nothing ever, even a single, nothing became available. I kept checking weekly, probably about every 3 or 4 days I would check. Nothing ever became available. The only thing available was kind of a lousy ticket for $350. And I'm sorry, Robert Plant, the Sensational Space Shifters, are not a $350 band. They're just not. And I'd like to do it for the podcast, but I don't actually make money doing this. I'm out money at the end of the year. I don't make money. I spend money doing this. So to drop $350 on a concert that I was interested in seeing, but it wasn't going to happen that way. And that's not a slap at Robert Plant. They were the second-hand tickets. That's what they were going for, and I'm not spending that money on very many. The bottom line is that's a wow kind of price to me, and for a concert ticket, and I'm not spending it to see. I can't think who it even I would see. Elton John's doing a final tour, right? And my wife texted me, says, we have to go to this, not an option. So we actually spent $350. And believe me, we've spent 3 weeks looking at each other going, I can't believe we just spent $350 on friggin' tickets. But she really wanted to go, so we made that one happen. But if she hadn't said, let's go, I really want to go. Actually, I think it was $275 we spent, not even $300. If she hadn't kind of laid down the law, this must happen, which she foolishly did without thinking about how I would take it. So I just went and bought the tickets. You know, it was okay. You said you have to go. We will go. So now she's like, she's oh, we should have spent that money. So yeah, it wasn't gonna happen. It wasn't gonna happen for Robert Plant. It wasn't gonna happen. Maybe if Robert Plant was with Jimmy Page, it would happen. But good luck getting those tickets for $350. So anyway, I did what I've done in the past, which is approach Live Nation about a pass. And I've never got one in the past. I really wasn't expecting to get one this time. But yeah, day of the concert, I got a rejection of whatever they called it. And I posted a picture of it on Facebook and just kind of said, over 100 hours. 130 episodes, 40, we run half an hour to 40 minutes at the minimum in an episode. I don't think anything's ever been under half an hour. Some have been over an hour. So we're well over 100 hours in just talking to Robert Plant fans. People who would be inclined to buy Robert Plant tickets. Not like when you go to a newspaper and it's a shotgun approach where we're going to send fire shots everywhere and hope we hit a few Robert Plant fans. I got you. You're a Robert Plant fans. You might go to the show. If I go and love the show and tell you it's a great show, you might go. So I just kind of posted that, 100 hours of podcasting directly to Robert Plant, speaking directly to Robert Plant fans. Apparently it's not good enough for Live Nation. And it was just, so that's, I wasn't expecting it. I know what Live Nation is about, and they're not about you, the fan. Let's be blunt about that. They're not about you, the fan. And we could, if I were doing a business of music podcast, I would spend a lot of time on Ticketmaster and their, StubHub and Ticketmaster and Live Nation, which are all owned by Live Nation, which, is basically just a big, how the Monopolies Commission doesn't solve that problem. I don't know, but that's all. I kind of bitched about. I was whining. And it won't necessarily make it better next time. I promise you, it won't. But yeah, whatever. But anyway, so now I didn't get to the concert. That's why. But hey, didn't go to the concert. It's not going to stop me from talking about it. Here's the difference between if I went and I can't recommend you buy tickets. I can't do it. I've looked at videos. I've checked out what other people are saying. I can't personally recommend anything here. So if you're thinking of buying tickets and you're looking for me to say buy them, call Live Nation and say you're out. Tell them why. Oh wait, I'm whining again. All right, what happened this weekish in Led Zeppelin history? The 7th of February, 1962, John Bonham's sister, Deborah Bonham, was born. That makes her 56 this year. Sorry. 29 plus whatever it is. That would be the 27th anniversary of her 29th birthday, I believe, is what we're talking about here. She's my age. Hi, Deb. You're my age. If you're ever in town, call me. February 8th, because my wife would like that. February 8th, 1968, Band of Joy featuring Robert Plant and John Bonham make their first London appearance, supporting Edwin Starr at the Marquee Club. Edwin Starr was famous for the song War, What Is It Good For?, which Bruce Springsteen later made famous for us 70s kids. And that's Robert Plant and John Bonham's Band of Joy, not Robert Plant and whatever remember that guitar player guy name he was hanging out with a couple of years ago. God, memory's gone bad on that one. But anyway, yeah, that was the first incarnation of Band Enjoyably. Again on the 8th, 2009, Robert Plant and Alison Krauss won 5 Grammys for Raising Sand, including Album of the Year. And I think there was a Song of the Year in there, and the song was Please Read the Letter, which Robert Plant is playing on the current tour, by the way. That's why I actually mentioned it. On the 10th of February 2002, both Page and Plant appear at the Teenage Cancer Trust benefit, but not together. Plant with Strange Sensation, Page with Paul Weller's backup band. And this, I've heard little stories about this, and Dave Lewis mentioned that on his webpage, that it was a really weird, surreal night. Apparently, sometime around this time, and they may have even were supposed to have appeared together, somewhere around this time, Plant did one of those interviews when he referred to Led Zeppelin as the boy band he was in. And Page took serious umbrage at those comments, and that's why they not just didn't appear together, apparently we're not talking backstage. Now, I've heard all this second and third hand, so I have no official source to tell you this, but that is what I've heard about that show, that it was a bit, it was strained. The relationship was strained at the time. February 11, 1985, Firm's premiere album was released. That's the one with Radioactive on it. So it is 33 years old now. The 13th of February 2005, Led Zeppelin received Lifetime Achievement Grammy. The 14th, 1974, that would be Valentine's Day, of course. Page and Plant joined Roy Harper on stage at London's Rainbow Theatre. Ronnie Lane and Keith Moon also joined in. The 15th of February 1982, the Death Wish 2 soundtrack was released. So that takes us at 36 years, by the way. The 24th of February 1975, big jump there, 9-day jump, Physical Graffiti was released in the UK. So that takes us to 43 years. We're getting up there, folks. 26th, 1965, Jimmy Page releases a solo single, She Just Satisfied, Keep Moving. That's 53 years. Yeah, and that of course was re-released a couple of years ago for Record Store Day. And if you've never heard it, it was re-released, and I'd love to get it. I still see it sometimes. If you go to a local record store and go through their old Record Store Day offerings and the 45 piles, it is there. I've seen it a couple of times in the last while. I might have bought 2 at the time, so I don't think I'm not buying another, but it's a blue label. I forget the name of the label. But I should have been prepared. Had it to show the YouTube people. The 28th of February 1970, Led Zeppelin appeared in Copenhagen as the Knobs in honor of Claude Knob, who was a promoter, made infamous in Deep Purple Smoke in the Water as Funky Claude. Funky Claude was running in and out, something like that. And then on the 29th, this will be the next podcast, by the way, 1988. We're looking at 30 years ago. Robert Plant released Now and Zen. And having noted that, mess. I got a mess over here. I got a mess. Clean up in the dungeon aisle. So there's Now and Zen. I pulled it out tonight. I listened to side 1. I've already made a couple of notes on it. So we're going to... that'll be the next podcast, and it won't be on the 29th because I'm not in town. Leaving shortly, not coming back that soon. How's that? Vague enough for you burglars? You have to figure it out. Don't think about burgling my house. Somebody will be here, actually. We have a dog who's nervous and edgy, and she can't drive, and she's not going to go with somebody. We have somebody come looks after the dog. It's like having a baby sometimes. As you guys know, she barks sometimes during the show. No respect for the work we do here. Okay, I got to see Get the Let Out in Mississauga a 2 weeks ago. Thanks to Paul Hammond, Get the Let Out's guitar player, who always looks after me for a pass and ticket. We had fun backstage. Swapping ways to play Ramble on. Actually, we had a little, and he's got there was an extra move in there that I was going, huh? So I got him to show it to me, and I was showing him how I do it, and I think I surprised him a little. He was expecting me to do the open E chord style up in the 12th fret, which is what most people do. I have a guitar here. I can play it for you. Sort of show you YouTube guys. Right? Most people do. I was doing something that uses some 7th fret E chords and all those open notes still, and it drops into an E7. But Paul has this extra note again. That's more or less what I was doing. Then there's this. So it's that. It was really different. So there you go. There's how Paul Hammond, Get the Let Out, plays that. And Paul, if you're watching, listening, then I've been practicing. I promise I would. So yeah, they're great. They just put on a show, and they don't. No way. If you've never seen them, no wigs, no. This is Jimmy, and they don't. This is Robert, and they actually address that when he kind of introduces the band a bit. He says, he's kind of got this shtick about, why is Howard Stern singing? Why is Ted Nugent playing? And but there's 6 guys, and farewell to Andrew. Andrew is the keyboard player, guitar player, all-round solid fellow, and lover of margaritas. Searched long and wide for margaritas. For some pina coladas. I think it was margaritas. And also, Andrew has a CD out called Siddhartha. It's supposed to be the first of a couple. Based on a Herman Wouk book. And it's excellent. And he was pre-nominated. We talked about this ages ago. He was pre-nominated for a Grammy. So anyway, he's moved on. There's a temp guy now, and then a new guy when they go into Florida. And in about a month, they head to Florida, the South. They will have a brand new keyboard guitar player. And Paul's very excited actually about playing with them. He's a young guy and really, really talented apparently. Not that Andrew was not. Andrew was phenomenally talented human being, and so I personally wish him well. I'd have him on the show sometime. Which takes me to was a discussion on Facebook about having Paul. So go over to the Facebook page at Ramble Radio on Facebook, and somebody posted, actually, you should have Paul Hammond on. Or the guys from Get the Let Out, he said. And I laughed. Every time I see Paul, I say, I have to have you on the podcast. And he's happy to do it. But I get caught on, what am I going to talk to Paul Hammond about? Because 3/4 of the people listening to this never heard of them, may never go see the band. They are, we're here to talk about Led Zeppelin, not about Led Zeppelin tribute bands. So for me, it kind of creates a little bit of a, I wouldn't say a problem, but it's a bit of a trick. I think has to be managed a bit. Could be very effective, could be very nicely done, could be a very interesting podcast, but it has to be managed a bit. So I always kind of end up hesitating to do it. And then somebody else mentioned, by the way, there's lots of good Led Zeppelin tribute bands out there. Somebody mentioned No Quarter from the Seattle area. Led Zeppelin from LA, but they will be local to me here in Waterloo, actually. And I think parts of Toronto in next month. And I'm going to see them. I'm looking forward to going to see them. Hey, if any of you guys from Led Zeppelin listen to this podcast, get a hold of me. I'd love to talk to you before the show or whatever. But, there's another band called Zeppelin USA. They have a great guitar player called Steven Z. He's, I don't know how to pronounce it. Met Steve in New York a couple of years ago. And he used to play with Led Zeppelin. So I know they're a good band. And then in the ensuing discussion, you guys will get the letter, you should have Jason Bonham on, as mentioned. And so thanks to Keith on Facebook, who mentioned all this, brought this up, and has also said he's going to be contacting Jason. I don't know if Jason's contact information, but apparently Keith does, and he's going to contact him and see about, I just mentioned to him about the show, and he should come on. So Jason, if this is the show you're checking out, we would love to have you on. I promise not to ask any stupid, embarrassing questions. And I have a bit of a secret for you, Jason. Come on the show. We'll talk about something you're really interested in from a perspective you're not expecting. I promise an interesting conversation that you will like and it will bore the other people listening to death. So those are always the best conversations, right, Jason? But so thanks to Keith, who said he was going to contact him and said he loved the show, said he loved the Facebook page. And also, yes, mentioned about getting, and one day I'll have Paul, if not some other guys, will get the Let Out on. It's just got to be a properly managed kind of circumstance, and we'll figure it out. And I mentioned, and I can't, for the life of me, I can't think of Andrew's last name, forget the Let Out, but Paul Hammond also has a CD, if you just Google him. It's an instrumental, but very Zeppelin-esque and very good. Very, very good. There you go. I've done my plugging there. So speaking of Jason Bonham, he is touring. I don't know if I've mentioned this previous. I kind of didn't realize he was doing so many shows. But he's got about 25 shows, if not more. Listed on his website, jasonbonham.net. He's going to be in Sail Across the Sun in New Orleans. I'm guessing that's actually a... I know it is. It's a boat. Because I commented to James Dillon on his Facebook page. They were going sailing with Christopher Cross. How epic is that? I believe was the phrase I used. You remember Christopher Cross did that song, Sailing Takes Me Away to Where I... So they're going to be on a cruise ship with Christopher Cross. And leaves from New Orleans, I guess, on March the 7th. May 23rd, they're in Australia. They got 4 in Australia, 2 in New Zealand from late May to early June. And then June 15th starts the touring. Bangor, Saratoga Springs, Syracuse, Boston, Wantagh, New York. Gonna look what that is. Oh, that's Jones Beach, okay. Camden, New Jersey, Cincinnati, Burkittsville, Bristow, Holmdel, Raleigh, Charlotte, Tennis, Nashville, Alpharetta, Simpsonville, Cayuga Falls, Chicago, Illinois, Indiana, Noblesville, Indiana, Clarkston, Mississippi, home of the greatest barbecue restaurant ever, by the way. Maybe I got that wrong. It's Clarksdale, isn't it? Anyway. Kansas City on the 17th of July. July 8th, so we're in the middle of July. Maryland Heights, Missouri. Woodlands, Texas. Irving, Texas. Denver, Colorado. On my birthday, July 24th in Denver. Just 25th, West Valley City, Utah. Auburn, Washington. Ridgeville, Washington. Chula Vista, California. Irving, California. And Concord, California on August 3rd, finishing off the tours. That's Jason Bonham has all those dates on his schedule. If you're interested in going to any of those shows, then go go to his webpage. Again, jasonbottom.net, and you can order tickets through that. And again, things are underway to maybe get Jason on the show. It'd be so cool. And we're gonna I'll do what I can to get that happening. Hopefully he would be amenable to it, and we can talk about those shows, talk about what's going on with all those shows. Sorry, Facebook guys. I'm still running a bit of a cold. Funny. I said come downstairs. There's damp, cold basement in the cold. I come downstairs and I get all coffee and stuff. I apologized last time for the stuffed nose. It lasted all of 2 nights between the hours of like 11 and 3. Go figure. Like I literally sat down to record and all of a sudden stuffed up. And I actually it was bad enough that I thought, maybe I'll redo that. The next day I was feeling pretty good. I come home from work at night. I get home about midnight. I was thinking that evening, maybe I'll redo it when I get home. Redo that first part, and which I never do, by the way. Not that you care, but it's and then I stuffed up on the way I drive home from work. Same thing happened, and I thought, well, there's no point in redoing it because of the stuff up. So I just left it, and then the next night I was fine. If I'd waited one more night, it would have worked well. So if it was really annoying with the sniffing and snorting last time, I apologize deeply. I know how distracting that sort of thing can be. All right, Jimmy Page was talking to Planet Rock, the magazine Planet Rock. The interview is now out in Planet Rock magazine. This way, if you're in Britain, there's 4 different covers, one with each symbol. And you can be like Dave Lewis and go to the store and buy all 4. You can be like me and live in Canada and not get any. It will show up this side of the ocean, but they're so outrageous. There's no way I would go buy all 4, but just because they ship them from England. They wind up in the Chapters bookstore, which is like Barnes and Nobles if you're in the States, and but they end up being quite expensive. So I don't mind picking up a magazine, but I wouldn't be picking up 4. Anyway, so he said a few things. He talked. Basically, he said no Led Zeppelin reunion. Like if you're waiting for Led Zeppelin reunion because of the 50th anniversary or any other reason, it's not happening. It's not on. It's not going to happen. Interesting. Robert Plant had an interview this week where he said, somebody asked him about it, and he said, "You're talking to the wrong guy." Which, I mean, he plays games with these things, but well, you're kind of the guy as far as everybody goes. But hey, maybe this time he was willing and the other guys weren't. I contend that it was discussed because it had to have been discussed. And I contend that if I'm one of the other guys, and I don't know what they said, I have no inside information. I have no information. But if I was John Paul Jones or Jimmy Page, I'd be saying to Robert Plant, we're not doing one show. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it right, and we're going to do a bunch of shows. And my guess is Robert Plant was willing to do a show or 2. And the other guys, no, look, I'm not doing this. That's speculation. But it was interesting that Robert Plant said this week, you're talking to the wrong guys. So maybe he said yes, and they went, well, no, not just a show. But so other than poo-pooing and Led Zeppelin, it's not happening. He did say, on top of, we know how the West Was One was coming out. We know the book is coming out. He also said there's going to be more live material. And here's what he said. I can't give the game away, but there's a recording that's another multi-track that will release. It's so different to all the other things that are out there. It's another view compared to how the West Was One and the song remains the same. I'm looking forward to people hearing that. There's a lot of stuff to come out, a number of releases. I'd like to say that they'll be coming out over the next 10 years. There's more to come for sure. Now, if you go to rambleonradio.com, I wrote a post on this. Very short, very sweet. But I'm going to reiterate what I said here. This is important. they'll be coming out over the next 10 years. I have in my hands a copy of, and the people on YouTube can kind of see that that's official, a very official government UK paperwork. You see, I got this light here, and it doesn't let you see, right? It says, copyright in sound recording. It's basically what you need to know. It's a 5-page brief. Right? EU law was changed in 2002 and brought into effect in 2000 and something. Recently enough. I think it says something here. Nope. You see, I highlighted a bunch of stuff. Should have highlighted this, right? But bottom line is the law was changed in about the last 6 or 7 years. And this directive is from there we go. September 2011, the EU approved a directive. Change came into effect in the UK November 2013, 5 years ago. Okay, this is regarding copyright. Copyright for recorded music was changed from 50 years to 70 years. That's not a big deal. This part is a big deal. If a recording is not published or communicated to the public, copyright lasts 50 years from when the recording was made. If a recording is published within 50 years of when it was made, copyright lasts for 70 years from the year it was first published. If a recording is not published within 50 years of when it was first made, but is communicated to the public, copyright lasts 70 years from when it was first communicated to the public. If a recording was first communicated to the public within 50 years, but then was made published at a later date, but within 70 years of the first communication to the public, copyright lasts 70 years from when it was first published. There's kind of a lot there, and there's kind of not a lot there. Bottom line is, Physical Graffiti, Led Zeppelin's first album was 1969. About a year ago, it will still maintain copyright. It will maintain copyright for another 20 years. Now, here's what I don't know. When they remastered it for the upgrades, they may, and I believe they did, tacked another 70 years onto that copyright. I believe that actually falls under this. Because by remastering it, they significantly changed it. You understand? So it's, but I'm not sure on that. I just kind of think that one. I could be wrong on that. But that's the reason, that would be the reason a lot of these people are doing this sort of thing. A couple of years ago, Bob Dylan did a very limited release bootleg series and that sort of thing. And that's why, that's about this. Because that 50 years, there's a furthermore, a clause 5.2, use it or lose it. Can you see that, Facebook? Or not Facebook, YouTube guys. If 50 years after publication, the producer of a sound recording does not make the recording available for sale, both physically and online, in sufficient quantity, a performer who has assigned his or her rights to the recording producer may give written notice to the producer, blah, blah, blah. Bottom line is, you lose rights to the recording after 50 years. Now, there's a lot of kind of technical mumbo-jumbo to it. I don't know, and I'm going to try and get somebody on. I'm going to try and find somebody who would be able to explain it really fully to us all. But anything he's not going to come out with the stuff from 1973 right now, because he's got to get anything that's out from 1968 now, because it runs out of copyright. That's the point. Now, the first album, anything that was put on the radio, the BBC stuff, for instance, it's actually, or the first album, when they remastered the first album, they won the one from Paris in 1969. It would have had a 50-year copyright because they had broadcast it, but not released it. Then when they release it, that 70 years from the release date, not from the broadcast date. We already talked about that, right? But in this case, yeah. So anything they got in the vault, they have to release. Now, if you're a Bruce Springsteen fan, for instance, he has all sorts of stuff in the 70s and over the last 10 years and stuff. He's been releasing his concerts, the better bootlegs, and anything that was on the radio, for instance, is so he's kind of and it's just on the website. It's on nugs.net, I believe is the website actually, and he's just it's files plus you can buy a CD, right? It's high def, but that would be sufficient, I believe, to create the copyright over 7 years. So you're going to see a lot when he says over 10 years. What he means is we're going to protect our copyright on all the stuff we have. Anything worth protecting, we're going to protect it. So look for, all that stuff that's rumored. Oh, we know they have some 2-track stuff of this. We know they have a soundboard recording of that. It's all coming over the next 10 years. And look for things to come within that 50-year window. Don't look for something, you know what I mean? He's got a lot of stuff to get out every year. So he's not going to bring out the stuff from 75 now. He's got 7 years to get that out. That's when you'll see that. I'm willing to bet that's what happens, what he's talking about. So we're going to see stuff from early 69 or late 68 this year. That's what we're going to see. And we'll probably see it 6 months in advance or whatever. And they're, it's like, if I made a logo for this podcast that looked very similar to the Coca-Cola logo, they would send me a C, even though it doesn't matter, even if it's respectful, even if all sorts of little issues, even really they're calling out the lawyers for this little podcast. They can't even get a free ticket to see Robert Plant. And the answer is yes, because if they don't, it's kind of a use it or lose it type of issue with that sort of thing. The logo, if they don't fight me, then the next guy who wants to make a porn movie using the logo can argue, well, you didn't stop that guy from using it. You can't stop me from using it. So you have to protect your copyright. You have to protect your all the time sort of thing. And so that's kind of what they're going to be doing here. So look for, he's told you there's live stuff coming out. What's different than the song remains the same and How the West Was Won? Something from 1968. I guess, I don't know. In a lot lower quality. So, and I do wonder if a website's coming that's going to make it be the easiest way to do it. Get somebody on board to just be remastering this stuff, drop it on the website. It's available on MP3. It's available on FLAC files. The way it works with Springsteen and the Stones have those kind of websites, and it works. It's MP3s $9.99, FLAC files are, I want to say $14.99. It might be $19.99. It might be a $5 difference. Might be then you can order CDs, which is like $25.99. So I would guess, and I've talked much about it, I would like to see that. I would guess that's coming, but that's just that's a guess. But as it starts dropping, as these things start dropping, you know now you know what to expect or why to expect. And if I'm wrong, you'll know within 8 months. But if you see stuff from 68, 69 coming this year, then you know. It's coming in 10-year increments. All right, so Robert Plant was in Massey Hall, Toronto last night, as noted, as whined about, as did not get. I did get to see my brother was in a play I wasn't going to get next weekend, amateur theatrical, quite good, and so I'm not, I'm not upset that I missed it because I had something else to do, and I was happy to do it, and. So just getting that on record. But I have, being local, I do know a few people who went. I'm Facebook friends with people who I'm Facebook friends with them. And so I have been picking up some information on it. There has been reviews locally. remarkably, Toronto Sun's Jane Stevenson. Jan Stevenson. Is it Jan or Jane? Who I think is awful. Awful. Just, I mean, she's a Madonna fan, for crying out loud. Reviewing Robert Plant. Give me a, you know. But anyway, she had her review. I saw another one somewhere else. I'm not sure which one. Here is what he played. Set list was New World, Turn It Up, The May Queen, Rainbow, That's the Way, All the King's Horses, Please Read the Letter, told you. Gallows Pole, Carry Fire, Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, Little Maggie, Fixin' to Die, Misty Mountain Hop, In the Mood, Bring It On Home. Bring It On Home, Whole Lot of Love. Santi Anno, which I'm not sure what that is, and Whole Lot of Love. So that is, in fact, 15 songs, 5 of which were Led Zeppelin songs, 1 of which was an old Robert Plant solo song, In the Mood, which you heard. Now, what you heard was from Raleigh, North Carolina, but that's the arrangement he's playing currently. That's what you heard in the intro, and you will hear the rest of that on the outro. Led Zeppelin songs, That's the Way, Gallows Pole, Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, Misty Mountain Hop, and Whole Lot of Love, and Bring It On Home, but he's just using that lick, much like they did for Black Dog for a lot of years, right? They kind of played that lick and then broke into Black Dog. That's the kind of thing that he did there. So, let me think. So Gallows, but now, Jane Stevenson commented, Misty Mountain Hop was weird. Now, he did it last year. Remember the live TV broadcast from London he did? And they did a kind of a weird Justin Adams Got to Dance version of Misty Mountain Hop. I'm guessing I didn't hear that from last. I checked out a number of videos. Gallows Pole, they're doing Lead Belly style. It's not. They're not using. They're not doing a couple of things actually. They're not doing the that intro, right? I wonder if you guys can actually hear that. YouTube guys are hearing it, and they also didn't do that. It was really just a sort of a thing, fairly very up tempo on the chord. There's a little lick in the Lead Belly one that kind of is being played in the violin, but yeah, they were running more the Lead Belly version, and he does introduce it as a Lead Belly song, by the way. So that was Gallows Pole got that treatment. Yeah, Baby, I'm Gonna Leave You, more traditional. It was weird to me in that. Almost Skin Tyson do it a little, almost classically solo in there. People were freaking out, whistling and honking, and it really wasn't. You know, I've played classical guitar, so maybe I just was, but it wasn't very much. He was really just running some chords down with a nice little arpeggio pattern, this sort of thing. It's kind of what he was doing, heavy on the echo. So I wasn't overly impressed with that little solo bit, to be honest. And everybody on the audience was going a little nutsy. Go figure, I guess is all I can say. But the bottom line is everybody seemed to really like the show. People who were there liked the show. Now, I know somebody saw him last time he was in Toronto. My brother, actually, who goes to a lot of concerts, and kind of his comment afterwards was, I'm never going to see Robert Plant again. It was awful. And it's a similar show that he's doing now. So must have been people who walked out saying, "What? Are you kidding me?" But I didn't. I'm not Facebook friends with any of them. I'll tell you now. And nobody in the media says that. That's weird. I don't know what goes on with the media. They absolutely love it. Nobody kind of wants to. I don't know. How is it that they all agree? That's, I guess, what I'm saying. It's not that you should dislike it, but they all seem to agree. Oh, it's fresh and it's interesting and it's new. Um, I don't know. It has a feel sometimes of Emperor Without Clothes type of thing, you know. But the videos I saw, he sounded good. It's a good band. That's the real strength of this thing, is the band is really good. They're tight. They play well. And they roll out some interesting songs. I like, having said what I said, I like Skid Tyson a lot as a guitar player. So, again, I can't not recommend going to the show if you're thinking of going. I was trying to find tickets. I was trying to go. Because he may not be around too many more times. He's 69 years old. This has to end. As it is ending with, guys like Elton John, who ride the private jet to concerts, have decided to pack it in. And Robert Plant's still riding the bus. You got to figure it's got to end sooner or later, right? So that's kind of, and I think, because last time he was in town, I don't think it sold out that much. I don't think it sold out at all. This time he sold out really fast. You wonder how many people, I think, and I was reading something on this, Tom Petty and Prince really have changed the music industry, their deaths. Because both of them died of painkillers. In essence, both of them were taking the painkillers so they could keep touring. And for a lot of fans, it's those guys are younger, not older. We're fans of Robert Plant. He's 10 years older than Tom Petty, or 6 years older or something. And probably more than that than Prince. So you start realizing it's the whole kind of classic rock concert era is coming to an end. So you get out there and see who you got to see, right? And I think that happened with Robert. So yeah, anyway, so I mentioned earlier, it's halfway through. He's six shows done, 6 to go. This is just the North American part of his tour, by the way. Raleigh, North Carolina, he started. Charlotte, North Carolina, the 2nd show. Norfolk, Virginia on the 12th. New York City at the Beacon Theater on the 14th. Boston on Friday night. Toronto, Saturday night. Still to go. It's 3 days off between Toronto and Chicago. But Chicago on the 20th, which is 17th, Saturday, 18th. So Tuesday. Tuesday's the 20th. Minneapolis the 22nd. Denver the 24th. Phoenix the 26th. Oakland the 28th. And on March 3rd, closing things off in L.A. So that's it for this week's podcast. That's it for Ramble on Radio episode 139. Check rambleonradio.com for notes on this week's podcast. Let's up the news and reviews and any links I might mention in today's podcast. I mentioned I'm going to be away for a little bit, so not much action will happen on the Facebook page or the podcast for a couple of weeks probably. But I'm going to try and get back and bounce off that Now and Zen podcast really fast when I get home. So I'll do my work. Do my research. I.e., I've listened to Now and Zen a number of times. And we'll try and get back into form immediately upon returning. All right, so follow Ramble already. You can follow Ramble already on Facebook. Come on over, join the conversation. I was tickled pink that somebody actually posted something saying something about the podcast, about the page, and wanted to have it. And we got a bit of a chat going. You can follow also Ramble on Blog on Twitter, where I do my passive aggressive stuff. You can subscribe to Ramble on Radio through iTunes. If you're in iTunes, go to iTunes, leave a review. It just helps Apple's algorithms find the podcast. It helps other people find this podcast. It's also on Google Play, and the same thing applies. Leave a review on Google Play. Help people find us. You can listen on Stitcher Radio. You can download it from Podbean. or you can download the app on Podbean. Let's do it there. You can check out Ramble Radio on YouTube, and we will have this podcast published on YouTube in the next day or 3. Thanks for listening to Ramble Radio, episode 139. And here is the rest of Robert Plant and the Sensational Space Shifters in Raleigh, North Carolina, the 9th of February,